Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. I am your host, Shireen Benzayed, and I'm Head of Innovation at Finastra. And we're welcoming you for this live meetup, which is one of a series. We're running several sessions that are all part of our Hack to the Future Global FinTech Hackathon. Hack to the Future is a fintech movement igniting a world of financial sustainability, inclusion, and empowerment. And building on the success of our previous hackathons to redefine finance for good and build an unbiased fintech future, we continue to use our position in the market to inspire the fintech space to be open by default for everyone. And this year, we aim to drive engagement beyond our global fintech ecosystem with three main themes that are inclusive and open to all. The first one is sustainable and inclusive finance. The second one is embedded finance. And the third one is decentralized finance. And today we'll be talking about sustainability reports and NLP as part of theme one with the focus on ESG. So to cover this topic, I'm really excited to have with me today Adam Lieberman and Hannah Morgan. Hello.
Hey, Shireen. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having us.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, can you maybe say a couple of words to introduce yourselves?
Yes, so my name is Adam Lieberman. I'm a distinguished engineer and the head of AI and machine learning at Finastra.
Hi, and I'm Hannah Morgan. I am the lead data scientist of the innovation team at Finastra.
Thank you. Then, let's get to our topic. Over to you.
Cool. Let's kick it off.
And as you're sharing slides, maybe to everyone watching us either on YouTube or on LinkedIn, please feel free to post your questions and we'll take them at the end of the session with Adam and Hannah.
Sounds good. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we see it.
So hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here today. Like I just said, my name is Adam Lieberman, and I'm a distinguished engineer and the head of AI and machine learning at Finastra. And we're also here with Finastra's lead data scientist, Hannah Morgan. And today we're going to be discussing ESG, and in particular, we're going to be discussing sustainability reports. What we're going to do is breeze through a primer on ESG. We'll discuss, what it is, why it matters, and then we'll talk about some tech pieces that are going to help out with some ESG analysis. Hannah's then going to share some code with us for a machine learning demo that she has. So I'm super excited and I'm glad you're all here. So let's jump right in. So what is ESG? ESG, which stands for environmental, social, and governance, is a term it's often used interchangeably with sustainable investing, or what we call socially responsible investing. It can be called mission-related investing, or what we call screening. And from environmental issues such as climate change and pollution to social issues around workplace practices and human capital, and extending to governance issues such as executive pay and ethics, it's really a set of standards for a company's operations that socially conscious investors use to screen their potential investments. So in summary, it's really an umbrella term for sustainable, reasonable, and ethical investing. In January of 2020, Subdo Mishra published a paper that was called ESG Matters. And throughout this paper, studies were drawn that had shown that higher ESG is associated with higher profitability, lower volatility, higher valuations, higher returns, and also lower risk. So kind of in plain English, it says, companies that do good, do good. And it makes sense, companies that care about the environment, they care about their workplace practices and employees, and, they care about their governance policies. They tend to be, pretty solid companies. There have been hundreds of other published studies that have drawn similar associations and findings. So the important thing to note is that higher ESG is becoming an important criteria that investors are looking for, both in the public eye, but also in the private eye. Now, the medium through which ESG initiatives are conveyed are commonly from what we call CSR reports, and that stands for a corporate social responsibility. And this is a report that's internal and external facing, and companies use it to communicate their CSR efforts around environmental, ethical, philanthropic, and economic impacts on the environment and the community. In the US, there's not a requirement to actually publish these documents, but over 90% of companies in the S&P 500 are publishing them. These reports, they don't have a required format, and companies are free to report in any manner that they choose. However, these reports do have a similarity in that they highlight the company's strong suits, goals, and their plans around ESG. And in the investment industry, analysts really do frequent these reports to understand, compare, look at the trends, goals, and themes across different universes of companies. So here you can see a few examples of some ES&G statements that were pulled from their respective reports. In the environmental segment, here Nike's talking about environmental sustainability and achieving 100% renewable energy across its operations by 2025. In the S, or the social category, Accenture is discussing diversity and inclusion in the workforce with plans to really improve gender ratios. And in our G, our governance category, here we have a statement where Intuit is discussing its diverse executive board structure. So these CSR reports, they're text-based reports that contain a lot of different information. And really thinking about ESG at scale, it would be really nice to automate the extraction of text from these reports and be able to classify the different text statements so that analysts and investors alike, can analyze these documents at a faster and much more efficient pace. And now I'm going to turn it over to Hannah to discuss this in more depth.
Thanks, Adam. So as Adam was saying, these are published often as PDFs, and in order to use this really nice automated system that we want to build, you got to parse the PDFs. And anyone who has ever tried to read a PDF via computer knows it's really hard. There's not a standardized format either for PDFs or for the reports. So we have to use certain methods in order to extract the raw text from the PDF. However, there's still headers and images and captions, so we've got to implement other strategies in our code to deal with that too. So just a really, really brief overview of what natural language processing is it's basically converting human languages into machine readable data. Because, if I'm telling a machine to do something, it's doing a computation, and so it needs numbers. And then from this machine readable data, we need to convert that into something that understands both the meaning and the context of words and phrases. So you're trying to take human languages, convert it into machine readable data, and then create something new. And there's a lot of different use cases. Language translation, like Google Translate, sentiment analysis, text classification, document summarization. There's like a ton. So like here you can see, really common use case for natural language processing is just a chatbot, like an assistant on a website. And today we're going to work with zero-shot learning to classify our reports. Now, zero-shot learning is it's not new, but it's really up and coming. There's a lot of different advances in it lately. And basically you have a model and you need to classify it as something, but you have to have training data. And if you don't train it on every single word or phrase in the English language, how are you going to classify it? And that's where zero-shot learning comes in. It takes training data, and then it also takes an embedding space. So, it knows cats and tigers and lions are similar and orangutans are not similar. And so even if it hasn't seen cat before, it'll be able to classify it because it knows about cats, if that makes sense. So it uses learning and embeddings to estimate these labels, and it's really useful in computer vision, in text summarization, in videos. We're getting new use cases all the time. Like they've started using sensor data, which is not even, text or pictures, it's just numbers, to learn how to identify different actions that people are doing. So we're going to go through a demo, and we're going to open a CSR report and parse it. And then we're going to use this zero-shot learning model with some like things we have defined that the model has not been trained on in order to classify each of the sentences. We'll want to know, is this sentence about the environment, about social? Is it not about any of those things? And then we'll be able to get that back. And with that data, you can then do scoring on a report or automatically pull out the pieces that are about the environment that you want to read. There's like a lot of things you can do with it from there. So before we go to the demo, let's pause for some questions. All right, doesn't look like we have any questions coming in.
Yeah, we don't have any questions yet, but yeah, let's continue, and maybe we can take them later.
Yeah. All right. So first, I'm just going to share what one of these reports looks like. Now, this one is everyone's favorite fast food, McDonald's. And so you can see that the PDF has lots of text, or lots of images and less text. It's not very structured, it's quite confusing. It's not plain text that you can just read in. And, companies don't have any requirements, so they put whatever they feel like to put in here. So that's something that we have to deal with. Oh, wait, that's not screen share. Let me share this other screen. And of course, the yard cutting people came right now. Okay, can you guys see the notebook I'm showing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so this is a notebook that I'm going to walk you through, and actually we do have it available on a GitHub repo that we will get you the link to, so that if you want to walk through this yourself, copy paste it, do a little experimentation later, you can do that. We're going to first start by parsing this CSR PDF. And one great place to get those is this website called responsibilityreports.com. And it basically just aggregates them and pulls them from the different companies' websites. And then you can just download it from there. And what's great is that you can actually just put in like a link, and then this function we wrote will just download it and parse it for you. We use a package called Tika, T-I-K-A, and it basically downloads and parses all the text for you. However, you saw the format of that PDF. It has lots of new lines and headers, and so we have to actually go through and clean the text. Now, I will say that this is not the best way to clean the text. This is a pretty simple way that works for what we're doing. You might have more specific purposes. You might want it actually, in sentences with capitals. And so that is something that you have to consider when you're doing your natural language processing, is that every step needs to be tailored to your problem. This is not the only text cleaning you will ever need to do. This is the text cleaning that suits our problem. So it's really easy. Most of what I've been using is just regular expressions. Most people who know Python know what regular expressions are. So it's not too hard. We're just subbing out, making sure that there's no headers or figures. If there's multiple spaces in a row. And then we use a package called NLTK, which is the natural language toolkit in Python. It has a lot of things, but all we're doing it right now is it splits my text up into sentences, which is really helpful since my goal is to classify sentences. So as an example, I pulled the McDonald's report and it parsed it, and it has 275 sentences. So then we move on to the machine learning part, and we want to classify these categories. We want to know emissions, natural resources, pollution, diversity and inclusion, philanthropy, health and safety, training and education, transparency, corporate compliance, and board accountability. Now, as you can imagine, there's not a model readily available that's just trained to identify those categories. Those categories, I went through some of the ESG scoring companies, and those are some of their categories, and that's how I picked those. So it's actually really easy if you use a tool called Hugging Face, and they have a package called Transformers. And so to use a zero-shot model, you use their pipeline function and tell it that you're going to do zero-shot classification. And then I use a model called Deberta, and that is just a relatively new model that does word embeddings. So you just put in that model name, and then you tell it that I want to know if this is about something. And so basically those categories I defined, I want to know, is this sentence about emissions? Is this sentence about pollution? And it'll give me a score where 0 is no, it's absolutely not about that, and 1 is yes, it absolutely is about that. And so you can see how easy it is to do this, to zero-shot classify. And what happens when you run it is you get the sequence, and then the label, and then the score. So this one, the sentence is, our customers want to see the McDonald's they visit locally matches how we act globally. And it's saying that's not about natural resources, which is good. That's not about natural resources. And so you can also see here, I was like, oh, let's look at some of the ones that are in, E. We want to know about the environment. So we have continued our investment into sustainable packaging, innovation, renewable energy, and regenerative farming solutions to help drive action on climate change. And yeah, that is about natural resources. And then it's interesting because it pulls the same sentence and says it's about emissions, which it also is about emissions because it's talking about, doing farming and stuff like that. And so that pretty much wraps it up. It's not hard, and we really hope that this is a really good launching point for you. If you have any questions, you can have those come in, and we will post the link to the GitHub where this notebook is.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Cool. Thank you. So I don't think we have any questions. If anyone wants to post any questions, feel free to do so, and we can take them in the coming couple of minutes. Otherwise, oh yeah, we've got one. Just got one. Let's
yeah, that's a great question, actually. So if you want to aggregate and benchmark the data, basically you're going to have to do this on a bunch of reports, right? And that's something you can do. You just write, a loop that pulls in all the reports. And then you can come up with a score like what % of the report is about emissions, or, do they mention their corporate governance enough? And then you can benchmark it across the different companies across the industry. And so making that comparative score, that's like one of the ways you can use the data. You could also use it, in a different kind of benchmark, like maybe you want to look at that company year over year and see they are increasing how often they mention emissions.
Yeah, Brian, and another cool thing you could do, you don't have to limit it strictly to CSR reports. If you have news feeds, you can also pull in other text data and use zero-shot learning. You know, the really interesting thing, and the funny thing about ESG is it's such a disparate data problem, and there's data, you know, all over. You know, there's Glassdoor data, there's CSR reports, there's real-time news. There's all these different data sources, and really, you know, you build that wealth of ESG data when you can identify what sources you need and kind of pull them together and create this centralized repository.
So if there are any other questions, please feel free to post them on LinkedIn or on YouTube. We'd be happy to take them. Also, just wanted to mention that both Hannah and Adam are available on the Hackathon Discord. So if you have any specific questions and you'd like to connect with them afterwards, would be happy really to get in touch and to connect with all of you and help you there. And yeah, we've got just another comment from Brian. Thanks for the conversation, Brian. So yeah.
Yes, measurement is the challenge, and we're trying to make it easier by being able to parse text data instead of, you know, just numerical data that's posted.
Cool. I guess with that, we'll be closing the session for today. So thank you so much, Hannah, and thanks a lot, Adam. It was a very insightful session. I really enjoyed the fact that it's very practical, and we'll be sharing the GitHub link, and people would be able to go and check that and possibly use it in their hackathon project as well. So this is just to get you all started. So this is the beginning of a conversation. Please feel free to join us on the hackathon, so fintech.devpost.com. From there, you'll get the link to the Discord, and you'll be able to connect with Adam, Hannah, and all the other mentors that are available to support you. And yeah, please join our next live sessions as well, where we will be exploring both technical business topics, as well as we'll be having as well some ideation sessions with partners from all different types. So really looking forward to connecting again. Meanwhile, make sure that you register on fintech.devpost.com and check all the available resources to you there. Thanks a lot again, Adam and Hannah. Thank you, everyone, and see you soon.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for coming.